What was the most racist rule at your school? The new policy started on a Monday in September. Principal Davis announced that all students bringing lunch from home had to have it inspected before entering the cafeteria, but not everyone. Just students whose last names appeared on what they called the Cultural Food Monitoring List. My last name is Martinez. My best friend Leo's last name is Park. Our friend Aisha's last name is Okafor. We all made the list. Students with names like Cooper and Miller and Anderson didn't have to show anyone their lunch. They walked straight past the inspection table like it didn't exist. The rest of us had to open our bags and containers while Mr. Walsh wrote things down on a clipboard. He never explained what he was writing or why. Just nodded and waved us through after examining whatever we'd brought. When Leo's mom packed him kimchi fried rice, Mr. Walsh spent 2 full minutes staring at it, wrote something long on his clipboard. Asked Leo questions about the ingredients and how it was prepared. Leo answered confused because what did it matter? Mr. Walsh just smiled and said he was documenting for school records. I brought leftover mole from my grandma's house and got the same treatment. Questions about the spices, how long it had been in my fridge, whether anyone else in my family ate it. The questions felt invasive and weird, but I answered them because saying no would have gotten me sent to the office. Aisha brought jollof rice one day and Mr. Walsh took a photo of it with his phone. She asked why he needed a picture of her lunch, and he said the administration was studying dietary patterns. But he didn't take pictures of anyone's peanut butter sandwiches or pizza, Lunchables, just the food that looked different. That smelled different. Within 2 weeks, something strange started happening. Leo stopped bringing lunch from home entirely. Started buying the cafeteria food, even though he'd always complained it tasted like cardboard. When I asked him why, he got quiet and said his mom thought it was easier this way. Aisha switched to bringing plain turkey sandwiches. Nothing that would require inspection or questions. I noticed other students on the monitoring list doing the same thing, slowly abandoning the food from their families and cultures, replacing it with meals that wouldn't draw attention. The cafeteria got more crowded, while fewer students sat with their homemade lunches. I kept bringing my grandma's cooking because giving up felt like losing something important. But every day at that inspection table felt more humiliating. Mr. Walsh started taking longer to examine my food, asking more detailed questions, writing paragraphs on his clipboard while students behind me in line groaned about the wait. Then in October, something happened that made no sense. 3 students disappeared from school midweek, just gone. Their desks sat empty, and teachers acted like they'd never existed. I asked my history teacher where Maria Gonzalez went, and she said she couldn't discuss other students. The same day, I noticed Mr. Walsh wasn't at the inspection table anymore. A different teacher I'd never seen before had taken his place. She had the same clipboard with the same list of names, but she was asking different questions. Stranger questions. She wanted to know if anyone in our families had traveled recently, if we'd visited relatives in other countries, if anyone at home had been sick. These weren't questions about food anymore. Leo whispered to me in math class that his older brother got pulled out of English and taken to the principal's office. He hadn't come back by the end of the day. Leo's parents picked him up early and he didn't respond to any of my texts that night. I saw his brother's car in their driveway the next morning, so I knew he was home. But something was wrong. The next week, 4 more students disappeared. All of them had last names on the Cultural Food Monitoring List. All of them had been bringing lunch from home. The school sent out an email saying several families had decided to transfer their children due to personal circumstances. But nobody's parents had mentioned anything about transferring. And the timing was too perfect. I started paying attention to which students remained. The ones who'd switched to cafeteria food were still here. The ones who kept bringing cultural meals were gone. It was some kind of pattern I couldn't fully understand yet. During lunch on a Wednesday, I brought my grandma's pozole in a thermos. The inspection teacher took one look at it and her expression changed. She picked up her phone and made a call right there in front of me. Then she smiled and said I needed to come with her to the nurse's office for a routine health screening. I'd never had a routine health screening before, and as I followed her down the empty hallway away from the cafeteria, I realized none of those other students had ever come back from their health screenings either. We turned a corner and I saw Principal Davis waiting with 2 people in medical scrubs I'd never seen at our school before. And that's when I understood the food inspections had nothing to do with documenting lunch. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. I lock eyes with Principal Davis for one terrifying second before my body reacts on instinct. I turn and sprint in the opposite direction, my heart hammering against my ribs. Behind me, I hear Principal Davis shouting, "Stop that student immediately!" But I don't look back. I round the corner and dash toward the nearest bathroom, shoving through the door and locking myself in the last stall. My hands shake as I pull out my phone and group text Leo and Aisha. Emergency. They're coming for me. Food inspection equals some kind of test. Students aren't transferring. Don't trust Davis or the nurse. The bathroom door slams open. Martinez? It's Principal Davis's voice, calm but with an edge I've never heard before. We just need to perform a routine health screening. There's nothing to be afraid of. I lift my feet onto the toilet seat, trying to control my breathing. The intercom crackles to life overhead. Attention all students and staff. We are initiating an immediate lockdown procedure due to a medical emergency. All students are to remain in their current classrooms until further notice. This is not a drill. Principal Davis's footsteps retreat, and I hear him murmuring to someone outside the bathroom. My phone buzzes with text from Leo. "Where are you? What happened?" And Aisha, "Are you safe? Can you get out?" I respond quickly. "Bathroom, near nurse's office. They're looking for me. School on lockdown." Leo's response comes instantly. "Window. Back of building. My car across street in 5 minutes." I peek under the stall door. Empty. Moving quickly, I climb onto the sink counter and push at the narrow bathroom window. It creaks open just enough for me to squeeze through. I dangle from the ledge for a second before dropping into the bushes below, scratching my arms on the way down. Keeping low, I scan the school grounds. 2 security guards I've never seen before patrol the perimeter, speaking into walkie-talkies. I wait until they turn the corner. then make a dash across the open space toward the street. Leo's beat-up Honda idles across from the school, engine running. I sprint the last few yards and dive into the passenger seat. Go, go, go! I gasp, and Leo peels away from the curb. What the hell happened? He asks, eyes darting between me and the rearview mirror. The whole school's on lockdown. They were going to do something to me, I say, still catching my breath. The food inspection lady called Principal Davis when she saw my grandma's pozole. There were people in medical scrubs waiting. I think it's what happened to Maria and the others. Leo's knuckles turn white on the steering wheel. My brother, he starts, then falls silent. 20 minutes later, we're in Leo's basement, the blinds drawn. His parents are at work, and the house is quiet except for our voices. They pulled my brother out of class last week after he brought kimchi for lunch, Leo says, pacing. When he came home, he wouldn't talk about it. Just said they did some tests and told him not to bring Korean food anymore. He's been acting weird ever since. My phone buzzes. It's Aisha. I'm outside. Leo lets her in, and she rushes downstairs, laptop in hand. I got into my mom's email, she says without preamble. She's on the PTA and gets all the administrative updates. Look at this. She opens her laptop and shows us screenshots of emails with the school letterhead. One has the subject line, Genetic Marker Screening Protocol, Confidential. They're not inspecting the food, Aisha says, her voice tight. They're screening for genetic markers. The food is just how they're selecting which students to test. What does that even mean? I ask. It means they're targeting students with certain ethnic backgrounds, she says. The email talks about identifying potential genetic anomalies through cultural dietary patterns. They're taking DNA samples without consent. That's why they ask all those questions about how the food was prepared and who else ate it, Leo realizes. They're profiling our families. I feel sick. What about the missing students, Maria and the others? Aisha scrolls to another email. This mentions a quarantine protocol for students with concerning genetic markers. There's an address here for some kind of medical research facility. Leo's phone rings. He answers, listens, then puts it on speaker. Tell them, he says. It's Jin, says his brother's voice. After they tested me last week, they made me sign something saying I wouldn't talk about it. They swabbed my mouth and took blood. They asked if anyone in our family had ever been sick in ways doctors couldn't explain. Then they made me promise not to bring culturally specific food items to school anymore. Did they say why? I ask. Something about preventing contamination. They acted like they were protecting everyone else from me. Jin's voice cracks. They made me feel like I was carrying some disease just because of who I am. Leo's phone beeps with another call. He checks it and his face pales. It's your parents, he tells me. Principal Davis must have called them. I take the phone. Mom, where are you? She sounds frantic. The school called. They said you ran away during a health screening and might be in danger. They said you could be contagious. Mom, they're lying. They're doing tests on students with certain backgrounds. Principal Davis said you'd say something like that. He said you might be experiencing paranoia as a symptom. He's sending someone to our house to help find you. Don't tell them where I am, I plead. Something really bad is happening at school. Come home right now, she demands. Whatever's going on, we'll figure it out together. I can't, I say, my throat tight. They'll take me to that research facility like the other students. After I hang up, we sit in stunned silence for a moment. No one's going to believe us without proof, Aisha finally says. We need evidence of what they're doing. Leo nods grimly. And we need to find out what happened to the missing students. I look at the emails on Aisha's screen, at the official letterhead that makes this nightmare real. We need to expose them before they come for us too. Outside, the sun is setting, casting long shadows across Leo's basement floor. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wails, and I wonder if they're already looking for me. Leo's basement feels like a war room by midnight. We've pushed the furniture against the walls and spread out our evidence across the floor printouts of Aisha's screenshots, notes from our conversations with Jin, and a hastily drawn map of the school, with possible locations of whatever they're using to test students. We need more information, Aisha says, typing furiously on her laptop. Nobody's going to believe 3 teenagers over Principal Davis without solid proof. Leo nods, passing me a can of soda. We should create some burner accounts to contact other students without exposing ourselves. Within an hour, we've set up fake profiles across 3 platforms. I start messaging classmates, careful to sound casual. Hey, did you hear about that weird health screening thing they're doing? Most responses are dismissive. It's just flu season, but a few students share stories similar to Jin's. Always the same pattern. Bring cultural food, get pulled aside, undergo testing, then silence. I might have something, Aisha says suddenly. Maria Gonzalez's cousin Carmen works at Northside Medical Center. She just posted complaining about extra security in the research wing, where she's not allowed to enter anymore. I remember Maria. She brought homemade tamales the week before she transferred. She never said goodbye to anyone. Message her, Leo urges. But be careful what you say. Aisha crafts a message explaining she's doing a school project on medical research facilities. Carmen responds within minutes, clearly eager to vent. They converted the entire East Wing into some quarantine zone 2 weeks ago. Security everywhere. They brought in these teenagers who aren't even sick. My supervisor says it's a special government program and we're not supposed to ask questions. My stomach drops. They're actually holding them somewhere. Leo's phone pings with a notification. Mr. Walsh just posted something weird on the faculty blog. He turns his screen toward us, showing a post titled Genetic Purity Initiative, Making Progress. The post is vague but disturbing. Our pilot program has successfully identified 17 students with concerning genetic markers. Phase 2 implementation begins next week, with expanded testing protocols. Remember, this is for the greater good. What the hell is Phase 2? I whisper. There's a school board meeting Thursday night, Aisha says, scrolling through the district calendar. They've added a special agenda item called Health Screening Program Update. Leo's brother Jin appears at the basement door, his face pale. Mom's on the phone with Mrs. Park from the PTA. They're telling parents that some students might have been exposed to a rare genetic condition that could be contagious. They're saying it's mostly in kids from immigrant families. They're creating panic to justify the testing, Aisha says, disgust evident in her voice. And people are buying it, Jin adds. Mrs. Park was asking if our family had been properly screened yet. The next morning, we split up to gather more evidence. I call the families of 3 missing students, pretending to be collecting homework assignments. Each conversation follows the same pattern, parents sounding nervous, insisting their child is getting special medical attention, but unable to explain where or why. We regroup at Leo's house after school. Aisha has managed to get a copy of the cafeteria's inspection records by telling the lunch lady she's doing a nutrition project. Look at this, she says, pointing to a column labeled genetic marker status. Next to my name and the pozole I brought is a notation, X47 positive. What's X47? Leo asks. I don't know, but all the missing students have similar markers noted. Leo cracks his knuckles. I think I can get into Walsh's computer remotely. He uses the same password for everything, and I helped him set up his home network last year for extra credit. It takes him nearly an hour of tense work, but eventually Leo's face lights up. I'm in. There's a spreadsheet called Genetic Compatibility Scores with every student's name. We crowd around his laptop, scanning the document. Each student has a numerical score and color code. Most white students are green. Most students of color are yellow or red. Look at the emails, Aisha urges. Leo clicks through Walsh's inbox until he finds correspondence with Principal Davis. One email contains an attachment labeled Federal Funding Proposal, Project Purify. They're getting government money for this, I whisper, reading over Leo's shoulder. It says they're identifying genetic anomalies associated with non-European ancestry and developing protocols for genetic screening in school environments. Leo downloads everything he can find while Aisha and I take screenshots. We're so focused that we don't hear the footsteps upstairs until it's too late. Someone's here, Jin hisses from the top of the basement stairs. School security guards, they're talking to Mom. Leo quickly disconnects from Walsh's computer and shuts his laptop. Out the back, he whispers. We grab our phones and the printed evidence, stuffing everything into Aisha's backpack. Jin leads us through the basement storage room to a small window that opens into the backyard. Split up, I say as we squeeze through. They'll be looking for all of us together. Meet at the old factory by the railroad tracks at midnight, Leo says, and be careful. I take the long way home, cutting through backyards and side streets. When I finally reach my house, my parents are waiting in the living room with grim expressions. Principal Davis called again. My father says, he says you stole confidential medical information and might be experiencing paranoid delusions. Dad, they're testing students based on their ethnicity, I try to explain, showing them the screenshots on my phone. They quarantined kids who brought cultural food to school. My mother shakes her head. Mija, this sounds crazy. Why would they do that? Because they're looking for something in our DNA, I insist. Something they're calling genetic markers. The school is just trying to keep everyone healthy. My father says firmly. Principal Davis explained everything. There's a rare condition they're screening for, and they need to test you to make sure you're safe. I stare at them in disbelief. You believe him over me? We believe that you think something bad is happening, my mother says carefully. But sometimes when we're scared, we see things that aren't there. I realize with a sinking feeling that they've already decided I'm wrong or worse, that I'm having some kind of breakdown. Principal Davis has gotten to them, just like he's gotten to other parents. I need to lie down, I say, retreating to my room. Once inside, I lock the door and text Leo and Aisha. Parents don't believe me. We'll sneak out tonight for the meeting. We need to expose this before Thursday's school board meeting. As I hide the evidence I've gathered under my mattress, I hear my parents talking in low voices about scheduling an evaluation for me tomorrow. They're not just dismissing my story, they're actively working with the school to bring me in. I set my alarm for 11:30 p.m. and lie down fully clothed, my heart racing. Whatever genetic markers they found in my grandmother's pozole, whatever they're doing to the quarantined students, I know one thing for certain, I can't let them catch me. I wake up to my alarm at 11:30 p.m., my heart immediately racing. The house is quiet, but I take no chances, stuffing pillows under my blanket to create the outline of a sleeping body. I grab my backpack with the evidence and carefully slide my window open, wincing at every creak. The night air is cold against my face as I drop to the ground and sprint across our backyard. My parents trusted Principal Davis over me. The thought still stings as I navigate through the neighborhood, sticking to shadows. The abandoned factory looms against the night sky, its broken windows like dark eyes watching my approach. I slip through a gap in the chain-link fence, my phone flashlight guiding me toward a faint light coming from inside. Martinez? Leo's voice calls softly. I follow the sound to find Leo and Aisha huddled in what was once an office space. They've set up a makeshift command center with Aisha's laptop connected to a portable battery pack, printouts taped to the wall, and a map of the school district marked with red pins. My parents practically put me on house arrest, Aisha says, hugging me. They think I'm having a sleepover at Zoe's house. Leo looks exhausted. The security guards came back after you left. They searched our basement. Jin covered for us, but my parents are freaked out. We need to move fast, I say, dropping my backpack and pulling out the additional evidence I gathered. They're closing in. We spend the next 3 hours compiling everything. Screenshots of Walsh's emails, the genetic testing spreadsheets, testimonies from affected students, and Carmen's messages about the quarantine facility. Aisha edits it all into a 10-minute video with Leo's voice narrating the timeline of events. We should upload this to multiple platforms right before the school board meeting tomorrow, I suggest. That way they can't take it down before people see it. What about us? Leo asks, the question hanging heavy in the air. Once this goes live, they'll know exactly who exposed them. What? I've thought about that, Aisha says, pulling out 3 prepaid phones, burner phones, and I've created anonymous email accounts on secure servers. We upload from here, not from our homes. By dawn, we finished the video and created accounts on every major platform. We set the uploads to go live at 6:45 p.m. 15 minutes before the school board meeting starts. Get some sleep, Leo says. We'll meet back here at 5 p.m. I sneak back home and manage to slip into my room undetected. My parents are still asleep, unaware their daughter is about to blow the whistle on a government-funded genetic testing program targeting minority students. School is a nightmare of paranoia. I avoid the cafeteria, the nurse's office, and anywhere Principal Davis might be. Between classes, I catch glimpses of security guards I've never seen before, speaking into earpieces and scanning the hallways. Mr. Walsh watches me during English class, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. At 4:30 p.m., I tell my parents I'm going to the library to study. My father insists on driving me, watching as I walk through the doors. I wait until he drives away, then slip out the back and run to the factory. Leo and Aisha are already there, nervously checking their watches. It's time, Aisha says, opening her laptop. We gather around the screen, watching as the upload progress bars fill on 6 different platforms simultaneously. When they complete, Leo lets out a breath. Now we wait. My burner phone buzzes at 6:15 p.m. It's a text from a number I don't recognize. This is Amy Chen from Channel 7 News. I received your video. Can we talk? We debate for 5 minutes before deciding to respond. School board meeting tonight. We'll be there. We can't just walk in, I say. They'll recognize us immediately. Leo pulls out a bag. My theater club costume supplies, hats, glasses, different jackets. Disguised and nervous, we arrive at the district office building at 6:55 p.m. The parking lot is already packed, and a crowd has gathered outside. Many are watching our video on their phones. Expressions of shock and anger on their faces. They've seen it, Aisha whispers. We slip into the back of the meeting room, which is already standing room only. Parents of missing students occupy the front rows, many holding printed photos of their children. Principal Davis sits at the table with the school board members, looking uncomfortable as the board president calls the meeting to order. We have an unexpected item to address, the president says, her voice tight. It appears a video has been circulating online with serious allegations about our health screening program. Principal Davis leans forward. These allegations are completely false. We're conducting standard health screenings to protect our students from potential contaminants. The students spreading these rumors are experiencing paranoid reactions, possibly symptoms of the very condition we're screening for. A woman stands up in the front row. Where is my daughter, Maria? She's been gone for 2 weeks, and all you'll tell me is that she's receiving special medical attention. I want to see her now. Other parents join in, demanding answers about their missing children. Principal Davis raises his hands. Please understand, these students have been identified as carrying potentially dangerous foreign contaminants. We're simply genetic markers, interrupts a board member I recognize as Dr. Patel. Let's be honest about what we're doing. The room falls silent. Dr. Patel continues. I was told this program was identifying genetic anomalies that could indicate susceptibility to certain illnesses. But these spreadsheets, she holds up a printed copy of our evidence, show you're targeting students based on ethnic backgrounds, not medical risk factors. Outside, the crowd has grown. Through the windows, I can see our video playing on a projector someone has set up. People are chanting, demanding answers. A commotion at the door draws everyone's attention. Men in dark suits enter, scanning the room. Federal agents, Leo whispers. They're looking for us. Amy Chen from Channel 7 News pushes past the agents with her camera crew. We're live outside the Westfield School District meeting, where allegations have surfaced about illegal genetic testing on minority students, she reports, her camera panning across the room. One of the agents approaches her. This is a matter of national security. Turn off the camera. The public has a right to know, Amy responds, continuing to broadcast. The crowd outside is growing louder. Someone pounds on the windows, and suddenly the back doors burst open as students flood into the meeting room. Where are our classmates? They chant. In the chaos, Leo grabs my arm. The administration building. Now's our chance. We slip out a side door and sprint across the parking lot to the main school building. Leo uses his student ID to get us in. They haven't deactivated it yet. Where are we going? I ask. Jin said there's a secure room in the administration wing. That's where they'd keep the physical records. The hallways are eerily empty as we make our way to Principal Davis's office. The door is locked, but Aisha pulls out a student ID card. I borrowed this from the office last week, she says, sliding it between the door and frame until the lock clicks open. Inside, we find a door marked Records, Authorized Personnel Only. It takes us 5 minutes to pick this lock using a technique Leo learned in theater club for prop doors. The room beyond is filled with filing cabinets, but one section is newer than the rest, with a biometric lock that we can't bypass. On the wall above it is a map with red pins marking schools across the country. This is bigger than just our school, Aisha whispers. Leo finds a folder labeled Genetic Flagging Protocol and begins taking pictures of every page with his phone. I locate a cabinet with student files, each marked with the same X47 designation that was on my cafeteria record. There are hundreds of them, I say, flipping through the files, not just from our school. Suddenly, the lights in the hallway flicker on. Footsteps approach the office door. Hide, Leo hisses, pulling us behind a tall filing cabinet. The door opens, and we hear Principal Davis speaking to someone. The situation is contained. The students responsible will be apprehended tonight. This breach is unacceptable, responds a voice I don't recognize. Project Purify was supposed to remain classified until Phase 3. The police are securing the building now, Principal Davis says. No one will find these records. The footsteps move away, but moments later, we hear the wail of police sirens outside. Through the small window, I see police cars surrounding the building, their lights flashing against the brick walls. We're trapped, Aisha whispers, clutching the files we've gathered. They've got us cornered. My phone vibrates with a text from Amy Chen. Where are you? Police everywhere. I look at Leo and Aisha, their faces pale in the dim light of the records room. What do we do now? Leo's jaw sets with determination. We've come too far to give up. These files are our proof. We need to get them out of here. Outside, a police officer speaks through a megaphone. We know you're in the building. Come out with your hands up. We huddle together in the darkness, surrounded by evidence of a program designed to identify and isolate students based on their genetic heritage, our heritage. Whatever happens next, there's no going back. The truth is out there now, spreading through social media, news channels, and the angry crowd outside. I take a deep breath and text Amy Chen our exact location. We have the files. Bring your camera. The news breaks at 6:30 a.m. I'm huddled with Leo and Aisha in the supply closet where we spent the night after police surrounded the school. We'd managed to send the files to Amy Chen through an air vent that connected to an exterior wall where her cameraman was waiting. Now we watch her broadcast on Leo's phone. Breaking news. The state attorney general has announced an immediate investigation into Westfield School District following allegations of illegal genetic testing on students. In a pre-dawn press conference, Attorney General Ramirez confirmed that federal agents raided a medical research facility where multiple students were being held against their will. Aisha grabs my arm. They found them. The camera cuts to footage of teenagers being escorted from a nondescript building, some wrapped in blankets, others hugging frantic parents. I spot Maria Gonzalez among them, looking thinner than I remember, her mother clutching her like she might disappear again. According to sources close to the investigation, Amy continues, Principal Davis and science teacher Robert Walsh have been taken into custody for their roles in what's being called Project Purify, an unauthorized program that targeted students based on their ethnic backgrounds. Leo pumps his fist in the air. They got them. We finally emerge from our hiding place when the janitor unlocks the school at 7 a.m. He doesn't seem surprised to see us, just nods knowingly. You kids did good, he says quietly. My grandson was one of the ones they took. Outside, the world has transformed overnight. News vans line the street, and a crowd of parents and students has gathered at the front gates. When they spot us, a cheer erupts. Someone lifts me onto their shoulders, and suddenly I'm looking out over a sea of faces, relieved, angry, grateful. My parents push through the crowd, tears streaming down my mother's face. Mija, I'm so sorry we didn't believe you. She sobs, pulling me down into her arms. We saw everything on the news, those poor children. It's okay, Mom, I say, though part of me still feels the sting of their doubt. You didn't know. The next week passes in a blur of interviews, statements to investigators, and emotional reunions. The quarantined students return to school, each with their own horror story of blood draws, genetic sequencing, and isolation. Maria tells me they were kept in separate rooms and told their genetic anomalies might be contagious. They kept saying we were part of an important study that would protect future generations, she explains during lunch, her voice hollow. They made it sound like we should be grateful to be selected. An emergency administration takes over the school district after the entire school board is dissolved by state order. Our interim principal, Dr. Jackson, holds an assembly where she announces that all records from the testing program will be expunged and a new set of policies will ensure nothing like this happens again. What they did was not just illegal, she tells the packed auditorium. It was a fundamental betrayal of everything education stands for. Government officials scramble to distance themselves from Project Purify. A Department of Education spokesperson claims Principal Davis and Mr. Walsh were rogue actors who misappropriated research funds. But the files we found tell a different story. Look at this, Leo says, showing me a news article on his phone. They found the same program in 3 other districts across the country. The article details how genetic testing programs disguised as health screenings were discovered in schools in Arizona, Michigan, and Georgia, all using the same protocols and terminology found in our school's files. By November, a class action lawsuit is filed by 47 families, including Maria's and mine. My grandmother joins me at the first legal meeting, bringing containers of her pozole for everyone. They wanted to erase us, she says in Spanish as the lawyers prepare their documents. But our food, our culture, our DNA, these are not things to fear. These are gifts we share. The school reopens with a new sense of purpose. The cafeteria, once a place of surveillance and suspicion, becomes the center of healing when Dr. Jackson announces a monthly cultural food celebration day. Each month, we'll honor the diverse culinary traditions that make our community strong, she explains. Parents and grandparents are invited to share recipes and stories. My grandmother is the first to volunteer, teaching a group of students how to prepare her pozole while sharing stories of her childhood in Mexico. I watch her hands moving confidently as she explains each ingredient, the same hands that prepared the meal that ultimately exposed the whole operation. In December, I receive a letter from a congressional committee requesting my testimony about genetic testing in schools. The hearing is scheduled for January, and they want me to explain how a bowl of pozole led to the discovery of a nationwide program. Are you nervous? Aisha asks as we prepare my statement together. Terrified, I admit, but someone has to tell them what really happened. Leo and Aisha have channeled their activism into creating a new student rights organization that already has chapters forming in schools across the country. They've developed workshops on privacy rights and genetic discrimination that they present to student governments and parent associations. We're calling it Genetic Justice, Leo explains, showing me their logo, a DNA strand wrapped around scales of justice. Students deserve to know their rights. The final report from the Attorney General's investigation is released in February, confirming our worst suspicions. Project Purify was designed as a pilot for a nationwide genetic screening program targeting students with non-European ancestry. The report details how food inspections were chosen as the screening method because cultural foods would naturally identify students from specific ethnic backgrounds. The program's ultimate goal, the report states, was to create a database of genetic markers associated with ethnic minorities for purposes that remain unclear but appear to have been discriminatory in nature. Principal Davis and Mr. Walsh are awaiting trial, facing multiple federal charges. Neither has spoken publicly, but leaked emails showed Davis complaining that these kids don't understand we were trying to help them, even as he was being arrested. On the first anniversary of bringing my grandmother's pozole to school, I stand in the cafeteria watching students from dozens of cultural backgrounds sharing food from home without fear. The school cookbook, featuring my grandmother's recipe on the cover, has raised thousands of dollars for the legal fund supporting affected families. Dr. Jackson approaches me with a smile. "Your grandmother's recipe has become quite famous," she says. "I think we've sold more cookbooks than yearbooks this year." I nod, watching Leo and Aisha at a table nearby, surrounded by members of their organization. "It wasn't just about the food," I tell her. "It was about who gets to belong." "I know," she says quietly. "That's why we've implemented cultural sensitivity training for all staff. No student should ever feel their heritage is something to hide." As I join my friends, I think about how a simple bowl of pozole revealed something rotten at the heart of our school, but it also showed us how to fight back, how to stand up for each other when systems fail us. Principal Davis wanted to identify what made us different. Instead, he showed us what makes us strong.